کاوش مدیا.
In Iran. I had predicted this actually in an article, in an academic article in Global Geopolitics, Journal of Global Geopolitics in 1992. Said, pay attention. Yes, there is a Saddam and there is the Ba'ath there, but what Assad and Khomeini wants is to come from both sides, from the east and the west, and seize Iraq and seize Baghdad all the way to Basra. These are projections in geopolitics that are done regardless of the daily politics. And indeed, it took maybe a decade? It did happen. It did happen. And it took 8 years till the Obama withdrawal of 2011 or end of early 2012 that effectively the Shia pro-Iran Khomeinist militias deployed in Iraq. So geopolitically, what did Iran achieve? It achieved the revolution at home, the establishment of an Islamic Republic, the weaponization of the Islamic Republic against the United States and the other Arab countries, and of course, Israel. It achieved a strategic relationship with Syria under the Assad regime. And from Syria, so Iranian Revolutionary Guards landed in Syria, and Syria had occupied part of Lebanon in the civil war, which is not really a civil war, it was a war, where Syria was in and Israel came in for a little while. And through the Syrian regime, the Iranian Pasdaran, Iranian Revolutionary Guards, penetrated Lebanon, connected with the radical elements in the Bekaa Valley, and the rest is history as we know it, formed Hezbollah, and Hezbollah seized most of the areas of the Shia in Lebanon. The Iranian regime is the fact that they are building those huge numbers of ramps and ballistic missiles, and by the way, they use them through the Houthis of Yemen against Saudi Arabia and one time against the US Navy. So the missiles are basically what is the most dangerous against the security of the region. And eventually, and I know I'm going very fast here, but I'm serving all the points. If there is no change in Iran, Iran will coordinate with larger countries, allies, one of which is Venezuela. So not to discount Iranian missiles deployed one day in Venezuela. Iran is basically deploying those missiles outside Iran. Yemen is one example. Iraq is another example. Syria and Lebanon and Israel is dealing with as much as it can in Syria at least. But eventually those missiles will become really intercontinental. Let me take an example that you may be familiar with. So the Israelis have this very powerful shield that they have against the rockets coming, the dome, right? The rockets coming from Gaza and eventually from Lebanon. The Iranians are building an Iran dome, but with regard to the whole region. And what would that mean is that they need to assert their power in Iraq and of course in Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, equip their militias. So the calculation of Israelis or Americans with regard to Iran is not that the threat will be coming only from Iran. Those missiles and those power centers will be deployed across the region. The Saudis are feeling the heat. The Israelis are feeling the heat.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند